Okay, so how can the question is, in the context of 12 steps, step 11 is improving my conscious contact with God through prayer and meditation. How does the Course in Miracles do that? Well, through my own experience, I met a teacher of enlightenment who I don't recommend any longer because I believe he's fallen for temptation. But yeah, I was doing the observer technique, which was being taught, origination Ramana Maharishi. And I was aware of an observer behind me, behind my thoughts and behind my body, watching. And the teacher at that time asked me, okay, you're aware of the witnesser, but what's behind the witnesser? And in that question, with the presence of the teacher, I looked, what's behind the witnesser? And the whole world disappeared in infinite white light and love. And it was the most spectacular and most profound, most beautiful, loving experience of light and love beyond this world. And the Course in Miracles actually describes it. It says, imagine the happiest moment you've had in this life and times it by 1,000 and 1,000 again, and you still wouldn't know what it is to have that consciousness of God's presence totally with the absence of the ego. And I thought, yes, Course in Miracles does know what it's talking about. And it is a love and a light, which is incredible, actually can't be experienced in this world. It's beyond this world, because this world doesn't exist in that place of infinite light. But conscious contact with God, I mean, it's quite simple. St. Francis, we use that as the step 11 prayer for AA in 12-step fellowships. That is, I mean, St. Francis' famous quote is, what you're looking for is where you're looking from. So if you stop identifying with the thoughts and the ego and the body and the world, you find on the inside there is a light and a love which is independent of the ego trying to find it in food, sex, money, power, validation, whatever it is from the world. So it's a love which is always there, but my allegiance is to my ego. So I usually end up in bondage and separation and limitation, you know, in the house of mirrors of being identified with the ego's cravings and programs. So from my own experience, and obviously it's like releasing the dependency on the ego, which is mainly addiction to thought and the body, and also because if there's been addictive or suppression or repression throughout life, which most people do have, and addicts have to a large extent, then it's undoing the repressed feelings as well, which I teach, and canceling the thoughts, which Course in Miracles says one of the most profound early lessons with the Course in Miracles is all my thoughts are meaningless. So if all your thoughts are meaningless, you wouldn't pay any attention to them, and they would start disappearing into silence. So the Course in Miracles, just using that, and also the other core belief, which the Course in Miracles handles, I'm not a body, I'm free, for I'm God creating me. Those are two of my favorite lessons. My thoughts are meaningless, and I am not the body, because I am that which is the infinite light and love, if you like. The consciousness of God's presence is my truth, not my bondage to my ego. So freedom from the bondage of self, or the last line of St. Francis is, in dying, in the death of my allegiance to my ego, I'm born to eternal life, this ever-present inner connection to love and light. So because I've stopped identifying with the limitations of this perceptual world. So the Course in Miracles, I mean, it's free, even though you can get apps on your phone which are free or maybe small charge. So it's not that expensive to get started. You can even do it free from the computer. It's just 365 lessons, and you don't have to understand them. You just do the practice. It's a bit like, I'll just take the attitude, because the languaging, a lot of people are put off by the languaging, Christian languaging. But just there's a bit of an explanation, and then there's a thing. It will say, like, just see all your thoughts and make them meaningless. So you just do that lesson, whatever it tells you to do, and the instructions for doing it, Or it'll say there'd be another lesson like God is the love in which I forgive, and just do that throughout the day. So if you ever feel unforgiveness towards yourself or another person, you'd say, God is the love in which I forgive that person. God is the love in which I forgive myself for wanting to kill that person, whatever it is. So there's 365, and they dismantle the addiction to constantly thinking and being identified with the body and having an unforgiving aspect towards oneself and others. And that dissolves the ego into silence eventually. And then one gets a strong conscious contact with God. But also, if you're in a 12-step fellowship, we'll start to release the addiction for food, sex, money, validation, and looking to the external world, because those cravings will start to dissipate as one starts feeling the inner consciousness of the love of God. And there's the recognition I can share from my own experience. Once you have a strong presence of the love of God throughout your day, you don't need to kill yourself with donuts or be on the lookout for sex or need validation from everybody. Please tell me you like me. It's not necessary, because the love is already on the inside. Okay, so I found, just quickly from my experience, I've got a lot of questions, but in doing the daily lessons with commitment, you don't have to, but eventually they ask you to do the practices like every sort of 10 minutes, in the beginning, like every hour or twice a day. And that sort of discipline of, making sure you're releasing the thoughts through whatever mechanism the course does, I found to be super fantastic if one has the willingness to do it. And I just took the next step up from every 10 minutes doing the practice throughout the day with an alarm to why not just pray nonstop and just delete the thoughts as they come up. So that's one of my tools that I teach. So all the tools, you just do them as best you can. And so that's the Course in Miracles. One could get started. You can always come to these groups. I have groups on Saturdays and during the week on Zoom. Sunday one in London. Everyone's welcome, and some of them you can ask me questions and I'll try and explain the utilization of the tools if they're not clear. So welcome to anyone who's new, and if anyone's watching on YouTube, just email me, and if you want to join the groups, you're welcome. This is in alignment with what you want to do in life. Okay, I'm going to press stop recording. Stop recording, stop recording.